Okay, we have a red light, so good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to Monday, March 16th to the Goffstown School Board meeting. If you would please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mrs. Moran, if you would lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So since this is the first meeting after the election, we will be beginning this evening. I'd like to welcome our two new board members. So welcome to Dan and welcome to Adam. Both have been sworn in, and Vanessa as well as a returning board member. All three have been sworn in, so they're all good to be seated at the table this evening. So we will begin with our first order of business will be the election of a chair. So the way that this will work is I will ask for nominations for the position of chair. There can be more than one, and we are looking for a plurality of the votes. So with that, I would open it up. Are there any nominations for the position of chair?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Talbot.
We have a nomination for Mr. Talbot. Are there any other nominations for the position of chair besides Mr. Talbot?
I was ready.
Okay, since there is any other nominations? So seeing none, this will be it's anyone who is in support of Jared, and we're just looking for a plurality. So all in favor of Mr. Talbot as the chair, please.
Aye.
All right, I believe that is going to be everybody. So we will congratulate you and hand it off to Mr. Talbot.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, and thank you, everybody. For next order of business is to have nominations for the vice chair, which is a vitally important role, so I'll take any nominations for vice chair at this time.
Nominate Vanessa.
The chair recognizes the nomination of Vanessa as vice chair. Are there any other?
Shane,
Sorry.
for vice chair.
Ginny nominates Shane for vice chair. Any other nominations? As Vanessa was nominated first, I'll ask for a plurality of votes of who would like Vanessa as the vice chair for this financial year. All those raise your hand, please. I see 2 raised hands.
Yep.
And then those that wish Shane, please raise your hand for the vice chair. I see 6. So Shane, congratulations as vice chair.
Congrats to you.
Thank you. With that being said, let's move on to our next order of business, which is the review of policy BCA. This is something that we review once a year, and for the new members, I'll give you a moment to read about it. But this is really our ethics policy statement that we abide by throughout the timeline. So I will wait for a set amount of time for people to read it, review it, and then I will ask for a reaffirmation of policy BCA in a moment. You can bring as many cookies as you want, Jack.
In fact, you could add it to the policy if you want.
That's what he said.
Good idea.
So with that being said, I am looking for a motion for the acceptance and reaffirmation of policy BCA, please.
I'll make a motion to affirm policy BCA, the ethics policy statement.
First by Shane, seconded by Jack. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Other members? Okay. Is that an aye or abstention?
An aye.
An aye, thank you. Okay, committee assignments. So in our packets is our committee assignments. So again, for those of you that are new, looks like this sheet right here. My ask of you is you can fill it out and give it to me end of day today, or if you wish to provide me your committee assignments that you'd like to volunteer for by Friday, I'd like to review them with Shane and some other members to make sure that we have our subcommittees filled. And then at our next meeting, we'll be looking to affirm our subcommittee assignments. So again, you can fill them out now, or if you want to just email me by Friday, that's absolutely fine. Okay. Yes. It's okay, Retta. Thank you. And thank you, Adam.
Just a
to point out that if you are not familiar with all the subcommittees, this handout is also included in your packet. So it'll give you an idea, especially on meeting days. Some of the meetings are back-to-back, so good thing to look at when you're choosing your committees.
Absolutely. And if you are a returning member, because you were on committees from last time, doesn't mean you need to be on committees this time. We did lose 2 senior members that retired, so we will be looking to fill some of those leadership positions that are needed. So again, if you want to make a change, it's absolutely okay.
And Jared, can I just add, when you're looking at the sheet, next year for negotiations, I would just remind the board that we will have negotiations with our support staff next year. So GESS, our support staff union contract, will be up next year, so we will be looking for members to participate in that.
Thank you, Superintendent. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the March 2nd meeting minutes. Not sure if people had an opportunity to see these. For our new members, again, if you did watch the meeting or if you were present at the meeting, this is a vote for just the accuracy of the minutes, not that we agree with the minutes.
Good enough.
Great.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 2nd as presented.
Motion by Shane,
Second.
seconded by Ginny. All those in favor of approval of the meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? We have 3 abstentions. Thank you. That motion passes. With that, we'll go to committee reports, starting out with finance. I know, go
Jared,
ahead.
can I just back us up a little bit? I think we skipped over correspondence, good news,
Oh,
and
we
public
did.
comment.
I marked them off. Thank you.
Yeah, can I just comment on this first, though? We had listed on our agenda to have a presentation from the middle school on a new proposed schedule this evening. We did cancel that. There are a few things that we felt still needed to be tightened up a little bit. So the C&E committee has heard the full presentation, and primarily, the spoiler alert is that we're looking to move to a block schedule type model at the middle school, which will increase some of our instructional times, but it's not quite finished yet. So we will bring that hopefully in 2 weeks, but we felt that there were a few things that we still needed to work on. So I wanted to let you know on that. And for correspondence, we don't have any this evening, but Mr. Talbot, if it's okay, I just did want to speak briefly to the vote outcome. So I'd like to thank the voters of Goffstown and New Boston. We had really great support for both our budgets as well as our other warrant articles, particularly including the teacher contract here in Goffstown. So we're very appreciative. I'd like to extend our appreciation to the voters of Goffstown and New Boston. We're very, very appreciative that the budget and the contract was approved.
Also, other good news, I would like to say thank you for those members of this board that were actually working the polls, as well as our high school students that participated and gave directions during the whole time. They were very valuable in that. With that, moving on with correspondence, we'll go to our student rep.
All right. So last Friday was Free Money Friday here at Goffstown High School, which is our local scholarship event that the school counselors, Ms. Boschman, the librarian, and a representative from Granite Advance put on. Over 100 students, seniors, attended where they were able to fill out the local scholarship, which goes to about 20 different scholarships in the area. And they also had a few paper scholarships that students could grab. Spring sports tryouts for spring sports start next week, and signups are available on Power School. And then last but not least, speech and debate attended the Youth and Government pre-legislative session this weekend, where senior Noah Babin is the youth governor elected, and he gave a very powerful speech to the entire event. And so I thought he did a good job with that.
Thank you. And on to our teacher rep, please.
Also on March 13th, Peer Outreach held a youth risk behavior survey data retreat at the high school, where club members examined the current data on youth mental health and suicide risk to better understand those challenges facing their peers. They're now working on ways to increase awareness, reduce stigma, and encourage students who may be struggling to seek help. Their goal is simple and powerful: to ensure that more students experiencing suicidal thoughts connect with support before a crisis occurs. Peer Outreach is also hosting the semi-formal dance coming up, lost my place, March 20th from 7 to 10 with the theme of A Night in New York. Tickets will be sold electronically during that week, helping to make the event accessible while continuing to build connection and positive community among the students. Finally, we're celebrating arts and music in our schools in the month of March. For the music department, that means a lot of performances, but additionally, our Tri-M Music Honor Society members created a display in the theater lobby to commemorate this year's Grammy Award winners. It also means extra performances. The first week of March, the GHS Select Vocal Ensemble participated in the St. Anselm's Choir Spring Concert. This week, our annual Music in the Schools concert will be in the theater on Wednesday, the 18th at 7 p.m. And then next week, on the 25th, at 6 p.m., we'll collaborate with the GHS chapter of the National Art Society and the GHS Creative Writing Club for our joint Honor Society induction. And then, he already talked to you about free money. And then last is that all of our juniors will be taking the SAT during the school day on March 25th. The rest of our students will be working asynchronously at home, so teachers will give them work ahead of time to be working on while they're home.
Thank you. Any other good news or accommodations? Yes.
Thank you. So over at Bartlett, to celebrate the Iditarod and conclude their historical fiction unit on the Sarum Run, Bartlett classrooms participated in the Iditarod. As students finish books, their musher will advance along the Alaskan trail map in the gym. And each class aims to complete 50 books, following fun prompts such as reading a book with a blue cover, a science book, or a book about owls. They also have a program that's soon coming to Bartlett called Eyes on Owls, where owl experts Mark and Marcia Wilson will introduce students to New Hampshire native owls, including 6 live owls will be up close. So they're very excited about that. They'll also be reading some informational text on owling to build background knowledge. And after the presentation, students and staff are also going to dissect owl pellets. Over at Glen Lake, right before the break, Mrs. Canonis turned Glen Lake's weekly kindergarten motor group into the Winter Olympics. Mrs. Canonis introduced what the Olympics is about, and students participated in a variety of fun Olympics-inspired events, including scooter board sledding and a torch relay. And over at Maple, the PFT has been running its second annual readathon since Monday, March 2nd. It has thus far been an enormous success. As of last Friday, the Maple students have read a total of 129,327 minutes, and they've raised over $26,000. Additionally, an amazing 61% of the students have signed up and practiced to participate outside of school. So there's inside of school reading, but you can sign up to do extra, and they are. We're just incredibly proud of the support of the Maple Ave community that they've shown during this event. So the readathon will be finished, actually finished this afternoon. So a special thank you to PFT for putting on such a great program.
Thank you, Wendy. Any other accommodations or good news? Yes.
I was grateful to go to the MVMS March Arts Night last week, and it was just phenomenal to see all of the musicians at MVMS, like awesome performances by the honors groups as well as duets and solos, and it was a really nice evening. So.
Great. Thanks, Laura. Any others?
I would also like to commend the voters for supporting public schools and our teachers and students in Goffstown. I know probably it was a hard decision for some families, but thank you for making that decision. I think it will be helpful to our students here to continue on learning and turning out to be good people. So thank you for those choices that you made.
Jack?
I would encourage everyone to go on YouTube and see Scott's Last Our Schools, Our People interview with Susan McQuaid, if you want to see what the school system does for our kids other than reading, writing, and arithmetic. There's something to be learned there.
Thank you, Jack. Any other items? Okay. We'll open up public comment. Seeing none, we are now closing public comment. With that, we'll move on to committee reports. And Doug, I know that we didn't have A&F, but you have a manifest sheet.
I do, yeah. So we have a total manifest tonight in the amount of $4,116,728.32. For payroll, taxes, and benefits, we have a total of $3,122,779.72. Payroll, there were two payrolls during this time period, and they totaled $1,451,332, and payroll taxes were $430,867. In special education, the amounts for vendors that were over $5,000 totaled $193,441.66. Key amongst that was Durham School Services, $85,959 for in and out of district transportation. St. Charles School for $18,046 for out-of-district services. For general expenses, we had a total amount of $662,876.95. For SAU 19, Goffstown paid $195,097 for their assessment or their share of the cost of SAU 19. Goffstown Truck Center was paid $179,336 for transportation. Manchester School District, $100,263 for semester one for MST. Dead River Company, $69,996 for propane. Eversource, $41,043 for electricity. And for food service, we had one vendor over $5,000, and that is Performance Food Service for $18,963.
With that, I'll accept a motion to accept this manifest as presented.
Make a motion to accept this manifest as presented.
Motion by Jack, second by Retta. All those in favor of accepting the manifest, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, the MS-22.
Great, thanks. So the MS-22 is another form that goes to the DRA, the Department of Revenue and Administration. So as we move throughout the budget process, I'm on the DRA portal and I'm putting specific information that they're asking for each year. So before the MS-22, we put in the MS-27, which was what was presented to voters to be voted on. And then after the vote comes back in, I go to the financial articles and I mark off what passed and what didn't pass. And then what the DRA does is they start the beginning of the MS-22. So that column that says appropriations as voted, that's coming from the information that I put in before. And you can see that it's attached to certain articles. And then part of what we do on the MS-22 is then we divide it out between elementary, middle, and high school. If you go to the second page of the MS-22 on the bottom, the key thing for this is, again, any warrant articles that had a financial impact that got voted in, that's the total amount of appropriations or what the district will be able to spend next year, starting July 1st and then going through June 30th. So you can see that the voters voted for $60,797,768. That includes funds for our food service, which is, self-sufficient, as well as our grants fund, which again, we only spend the revenue that comes in as well. So that what we're really looking to do is make sure that what the voters voted on is being represented in the MS-22, and you can see that the total voted appropriations matches what the voters approved that day. So next fiscal year, we cannot spend more than that amount unless we have a public hearing. And again, there'd only be specific reasons why we'd have a public hearing. That would be if we wanted to spend from our CRF fund, or if we wanted to spend from the 5% contingency fund. Other than that, we're This now goes as a base number that will eventually lead to the tax rate setting in the fall. Because we have this number, and then we subtract out our revenue, and then we look for the new town valuation. So we're not at tax rating setting yet, but this is one of the first numbers that will eventually be used in the fall when the DRA sets our tax rate as well. So this is something that, as board members, you would sign. So definitely, if you have any questions before we sign, I would ask that I'm available now.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Cotton?
Yep.
No questions? Any comments for Mr. Totten on this? Okay. See, it's making its way around, so we will do that behind those business.
So it's the same sheet, just twice. If you don't mind just signing it twice, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to remind everyone, be very careful about where your name is. Make sure you sign next to your name.
It's this close.
I've signed on the wrong line like 3 times now, so be careful.
Great. And then Doug, I know that we have another item, but do you just want to give kind of a brief overview and say that we'll be going to non-public on this?
So during non-public today, we're going to talk about the special education transportation contract, which expires at the end of this year. So we'd be looking to enter contract for hopefully multiple years, starting July 1st.
Thank you. Moving on to Budget Committee, I believe there will be a meeting for the Budget Committee in the April timeframe. They're not having anything in the March timeframe, so hopefully we will have a member of this board ready to attend the budget meeting. Moving on to C&E, Chair recognizes Ginny.
Our CNE, as Brian stated, our information will come out to you next meeting with the report on Mountain View's new scheduling. And our next meeting is April 13th, 2026, 7 p.m. at the SAU, and we'll be discussing student and family handbook review. And that will be for our April approval.
Great, thank you, Ginny. Let's see, Chair recognizes Retta.
Actually,
Question?
before then, I just wanted to add on that we also had a very extensive presentation about IT. And I'm not sure if that comes to this board.
Would it be okay if I jump in here?
Yes,
absolutely.
So, at our last CNE meeting, like Retta mentioned, we had a very extensive presentation on IT. What we had discussed at the meeting is waiting until our new board members are at the table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the whole presentation to the entire board. And that presentation not only goes over staffing, but goes over future projects that we're working on, as well as usage for a lot of our technology tools that we're using in the district. So that will also be part of the next board meeting minutes. One of the things, though, if I may, that we did highlight was we talked a lot at the end of our meeting about the life expectancy of our current smart boards. So a number of them are coming to beyond end of life, and we've been having some problems with some of our smart boards. Our smart boards are in CIP, but one of the things that we're working on right now is we just created a survey to go out to our professional staff to ask about what features are important for them. And the reason being is some of our subjects, it's very important, especially at the elementary level, to have that touch screen capability. But for others, especially at the high school level, we may not need smart boards. We might need large screen TVs where teachers can use their laptop and use the screen sharing feature to be able to put slide decks and things like that up on the board. And there's a significant cost difference between those. So in trying to be proactive to come up with, okay, where are we going to be cost-wise as we start looking at CIP, we're getting that information from staff now. So that survey right now sits with the principals because we want to make sure we're getting feedback from them before we send it out from the staff. But I did want to let the entire board know that that was a pretty significant conversation that we had at our last CNE meeting. Ginny also mentioned the handbooks. So again, I wanted to make sure that we had our new board members at the table. You're actually going to get the handbooks from me tomorrow. So so that you have plenty of time to read through them with the changes. There is like a front page that goes over the changes that were in it. There's not many significant changes, but I do want to mention that per policy, the AI in deepfake policy was added to all of the handbooks in its entirety. So I will be looking for approval for those at the next meeting, so I'll make sure I get it to you in plenty of time to be able to read through those. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay, moving on to PNC, is it Retta or is it
Yes.
Laura? I wasn't sure.
It is me for now until we have our organizational meeting, and then it'll maybe somebody new. We had an abbreviated meeting tonight, but we filled it up with lots of activity. As you know from our last meeting, we presented the new board member communication packet that went out. Love to hear feedback from our new board members. This is something new that we hadn't done in the past, and it's trying to educate the new board members before they come to their first meeting. So you don't need to do it right now, but if you want to share any feedback to me or Vanessa and Laura are also on that committee. The other thing that we had worked on was a description of the board officers. So this is above and beyond the policies. This actually talks about what the chair and vice chair are responsible for. So we sent out a draft at our last meeting. We'd like to finalize that, so if any of you have any feedback on what's in that, please let us know, and we'll update that and kind of finalize it. It's a work in progress, so at any time we can decide to add to it. But we would like to get approval at our next meeting so we can close that book. We also talked a little bit about Volunteer Appreciation Week. We got some great ideas. This is April 19th through the 25th, so we'll be looking to get more information about the volunteers in our schools so we can share that out to the community. And lastly, we didn't go into great depth, but we're starting to think about the board retreat that will happen in June. So if any of you have thoughts or ideas around that, feel free to share with any of us. We haven't formalized anything, but if you have any ideas about what you'd like to see happen, let us know. Our next meeting is April 1st.
Any questions or statements for CNE? Great, if not, we'll move on to policy. Shane.
All right, so policy met last Monday, and there was a lot going on, but you will see that coming up in new business and a little bit of old business as well. Policy will be meeting again on April 13th at 5:30 at the SAU. The big one that we're still kind of waiting on is the advertising policy. So that's still in process. Scott did tell me tonight that he has received first draft back from the attorney who wanted to have someone else look at it. So we're still going through the process with that one. So I think that one could be ready to go by retreat time. So,
Any questions or statements for policy? We'll be talking about it again later. The SAU board meeting is scheduled for April 15th. For those new members, that is actually at the SAU building, which is on School Street. So we'll be there at 6 o'clock is the start time for that. And then the Joint Area Committee, Jack.
We're still waiting for June 10th to come up. I said I could make the meeting. I don't know how others responded, but I assume we will have a meeting on June 10th.
Thank you, Jack. Moving on to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot. A few things for the board. I wanted to let you know we've had some error messages from Power School. It was important to share that we've had a 500 error code. We don't really know what that is, but a lot of parents have gotten it. So we have a ticket out to Power School, so they're aware of it. We're not entirely sure what the issue is, but we're working to resolve that with them. I wanted to let board members know, and new board members, you'll be signed up to receive information from the New Hampshire School Boards Association, so that should be communication that you start to receive in the next couple of weeks. The New Hampshire School Boards Association is a wealth of resource for school boards and for school districts. So there are about 100 bills that are still being tracked right now through this legislative session. The crossover period is about to happen. That's when bills from the House go to the Senate, bills from the Senate go to the House. So there are about 100 that still pertain to public schools. So they run the gamut of all kinds of topics. If any board members are interested in any of that legislative advocacy work, there's a lot to be done there. So I would let that just linger. I wanted to let you know we had a food services audit happening today and tomorrow. So we've had 2 folks from the New Hampshire Education Department. They have come down and they were with us today, had a meeting with them, and then they went and observed lunch today at Bartlett, and they're observing breakfast tomorrow at Bartlett. So part of this cyclical cycle from the state, so we were happy to welcome them. And again, we're very fortunate that we have Megan Bizzaro, who is an incredible food services director. So I wanted to let you know that there are now 3 school districts that don't have full day K. Goffstown, Hampstead, and Timberlane. New Boston passed it, and Londonderry passed it. So there are now 3 school districts in the state. If there are more, I don't know what they are. So as far as I know, it's just those 3. So Goffstown is in a very small pool at this point. So just wanted you to be aware of that. And my last piece, we had the opportunity to meet briefly with our 2 new board members and do our local new board member orientation. But I also wanted to let you know that the New Hampshire School Boards Association is offering the same on April 7th and April 9th. So with that, I would be happy to pause and ask if there are any questions for me, for Mrs. Kohler, for Mr. Totten, and I would definitely include Brady McCann. If there are any general questions for Brady McCann, he's ready as well.
He looks ready.
I just wanted to emphasize the value of the New Hampshire School Board Association. They're mostly webinars at this point in time, but because we're members, we're able to sign up for these on our own, and they're free. They also have recordings, so if you can't make a session. But the topics are really great, especially when they're doing the legislative debriefing about what's happening. It helps you to understand what those are all about. So I encourage you to look at the emails that come in and sign up for, you can do this yourself. You just sign up, as long as you use your SAU email address, they'll recognize it.
And if you had any issues, just contact Mrs. Moran. We communicate with the School Boards Association. We'll make sure that we always give them new school board members' contact information, so you guys should get as soon as they've updated their lists.
Question about the full-day kindergarten. Is that, my understanding of it, that was related to not having an ability to feed the kids, like not having a proper lunchroom? Is that?
In Goffstown?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just the beginning of it. So in Goffstown, I would anticipate that we need 10 classrooms.
Okay.
So right now, we have 8 sections of kindergarten. If we went full-time, I would anticipate adding at least 2 sections, because that's the equivalent of what families that choose to send their children privately. So when we look at our numbers between kindergarten and first grade, it's about 2 additional sections. We only have 4 physical spaces. So if we are going to add full-day kindergarten, we're looking at about the need of about 10 classrooms total. And that's in addition to a cafeteria, that's in addition to a gymnasium type space. We don't have a library. So there are a number of limitations of the Glen Lake property. However, when that property was built, it was built with the possibility of being added onto. That was what it was conceptualized at that time. It's unlikely that there will ever be a mandate for full-day kindergarten. I don't foresee that happening. Right now, kindergarten is not required. The age of compulsory attendance in school does not start until a child is 6 years old. So it's not till a child goes to first grade that they actually are required to go by law. Kindergarten is not required. So I don't know, Dan. In all likelihood, I've optimistically shared over the years that I don't think Goffstown is going to get full-day kindergarten, and that's my optimistic view.
Very optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
New Boston, it passed overwhelmingly, so New Boston had a lot of support, but New Boston is so much smaller
Sure.
that And for New Boston, the math made sense. So,
I think especially with no building aid, we would have to build all of these buildings, and there's no building aid at the state. So the entire building expense would come on the town.
Yeah.
Whereas before, the state would kick in building aid, and there's little to no building aid right now.
there's still
So-
some building aid, but it's a very different process than it used to be. You have to put in for it a number of years before you might even be eligible for the funding. So you actually have to apply for it before you've even necessarily had a bond vote in your community. So, yeah, it's too bad. You know, full-day kindergarten is something that is important to families, and I think it's good for kids, but I don't want to give any Goffstown families false hope that there's going to be full-day kindergarten anywhere in the near future, because I just don't think that that's going to be possible, unfortunately.
Fair. Okay, thank you.
What other questions do we have for the superintendent? Okay. We'll move on. Under old business, we do have some Q&A policies that do not require action other than questions to Shane and the policy group and some statements. So Shane, I'll turn it over to you for the 3 items, or 3+1 that we have.
Sure. So before we do that, I just want to explain to the new board members kind of how the policy process works. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have watched meetings, so you probably are fairly familiar with it, but the policy starts in the policy subcommittee, and then it comes to the board for a first read. And then basically it gives you a couple weeks to look it over and develop some questions for it. After that, at the next board meeting, we have what we call the Q&A section, where we are tonight on the old business. So this is where, now again, the new members might not have had a lot of time to look through these, but this is where if there's things in the policy that you have questions about, or if you have ideas about it, that's where you want to bring it up. And then it would lay over again till the next meeting, and then we would look to approve that. So we do have 3 Q&A policies tonight, so we can entertain questions on those. And then we do have 3 new policies up for first read, so again, no action there. And then we have a number of policies that are up for deletion based on review by the SAU, and we went through them as the policy committee last Monday. And the majority of them are rooted in RSAs, and so therefore we didn't think that the policy was necessary because it's already a statute. And some of them are like one-liners, things like that. Our policy manual is quite hefty. You know, anything we can do to kind of get it to a more manageable size is good. So with that said, let's start with the Q&A policies. Does anyone have any questions, comments about any of these?
Greta, go ahead.
With the policy JIJ on student protests and demonstrations and strikes, so it looks like this is a brand-new policy that we didn't have, and we may have adopted this from another school district. Is there any, I don't know, this is, I know this is an issue that may come up, and it is, do we have other policies similar to this, or what was the thinking around this? I'm assuming that we needed to put it in place because we may have had an incident where students were not, that walked out.
Or you saw the news, there were some area high schools that did have students that walked out, and then in situations like that, you know, how do we respond?
Right.
And so I think the thinking around that was we need to have a policy to kind of figure out how building administration, the district as a whole, is supposed to respond to that. So that, and yes, this was adopted from a different district.
Right.
Who I believe did have some form of a walkout. So I can't speak to if we've had any student walkouts here. I don't think we
Yeah,
have.
so I would just, in general, share that we have not had the student walkouts. In the past, we have, over the couple of years that we've had things that have come up, we've done them after school. There's been a number of ways that we've worked with student groups to be able to do this. I believe, Mrs. Kohler, this policy might have come from Mr. Grisone.
It did.
It did. So I think, Shane, this was at the policy meeting that Wendy covered for me, so I
It was, yep,
wasn't there.
yep.
But I did speak to Mr. Grisone. So when we've had incidences like this in the past, Mr. Grisone's thinking was if this policy would just make it really clear. So we have always administered things the way that we have, and if kids are leaving class, they're skipping class, they're going to be disciplined for it. There are rules. So we have, in general, reacted to those things. Tim thought it would be better to have a policy that just stated it more clearly. So that's why this is before you. Because this is an optional policy, and as you just heard from Shane, in general, we don't tend to support the optional policies, but we thought this one was important.
Greta, go ahead.
Yeah, just a follow-up. Did we look at any other policies, or just this one that Mr. Grisone brought forward?
It was just this particular one.
Yeah, we only discussed kind of like what's in front of you right here.
Right, okay. And I'm just curious because I haven't thought about this and I haven't looked at anyone else's, and I'm wondering to what extent are policies at other schools similar or not?
Yeah. So do you have any suggestions for changes, or just general
I
questions?
don't, because
Okay.
I haven't looked at them, but I
Yeah.
was just curious how we came to this set of policies. It sounds like, maybe schools are starting to put them in place, but I don't know what the pros and cons are of them, so I have no additional feedback.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate kind of what Brian said, and I guess I said it too a little bit, but it just helps building administration, because I've seen this stuff on social media, like, how come these kids are out there, and how come the assistant principal's standing out there with them? Like, there's a whole thing, right, where, and it lays out in here, like, the staff member could be assigned to supervise, you know what I mean? So, it makes things clearer for the building administrators.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Shane, on that same policy, I'm looking at the title, student protests, demonstrations, and I think that's supposed to be strikes?
Yeah.
That's close.
Yeah. Maybe I need to put
Wait.
glasses on.
Wait, what is it?
Say
Strikes.
Thanks.
Oh, mine is an R.
Mine says stakes, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine says strikes.
Okay.
Yes.
Congratulations, you all passed the test.
So,
By the
so
way,
it should be strikes.
You've all
yes.
failed the test every meeting. We have a hidden word every meeting.
Well, that's not fair if we have two different samples of documents.
I didn't say it was easy, Shane.
How do I know Retta's copy's not different? It's just like in school, everyone gets a different test.
It's true. It's true.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
differentiated.
Yep.
Right, that's the word.
So that's JIJ. If anyone else has any questions or comments about JIJ. And if not, then we have JFAA, which is in relation to the admission of resident students. And then we have JIH and JIHR, which are student searches on their property, which if you'll remember, the big piece with that was the addition of the
Metal detector
Yeah,
wands.
Metal detector wands.
We are adding or proposing we could add metal detector ones.
It's added into this policy.
included.
Yeah, it was not in the policy, and it's now in the policy.
Shane, just looking at JIH, I know that it looks like under line 3, whenever a student freely and voluntarily consents to a search, consent obtained through threats or coercion is not considered to be freely and voluntarily given. When I look at JIHR, section C,
Sure.
administrative discretion will be used when issuing appropriate discipline consequences based on all circumstantial evidence of the situation up to 10-day suspension, should the administrator reasonably suspect the student is anyway to a threat. However, that's after it says if the student refuses to allow their person to be searched. Is that considered coercion to say, well, if you don't let me search you, I could give you a 10-day suspension?
That's a good question. I do know that districts handle this differently. And I do know that some places will say, okay, if the student didn't consent to a search, then they'll get the penalty of what we believe they have done. So that's a good question.
Yeah, it's kind of modeled on the concept of if you refuse a breathalyzer test, we're going to assume that you're under the influence of something. That's essentially what we were going for. So for example, if you can refuse a search and get 3 days suspension, but if I catch you with something illegal, you get 10 days, well, of course they're going to refuse the search, right? That's what we were trying to mitigate.
driving's a privilege. Is going to school a privilege or something that we're compelled to do for our students?
Going to school is, it is a privilege. It's a right, it's also a privilege. I think it's both. And we have certainly a code of conduct that we have to ensure to keep the building safe. So,
I don't disagree. I wonder if it's not complimentary to have the regulation and the policy. I like the idea of, we're innocent until proven guilty. If there's suspicion, that's great. Maybe under 3, whenever student freely, it says if they don't give consent, a parent or a guardian would be contacted or something along those lines. I just like the idea of the parent being in the loop about their student being searched, unless there's...
That's actually not a bad idea, because I do know that in many cases, if a student says no, the parent will be called.
Yeah.
And sometimes the parent will come down and say, let's go, or sometimes you have the opposite. So I mean...
I can understand if there's imminent danger, absolutely agree
Yeah.
with it. But if it's not imminent, I think we can take the pause to say, okay, let's try to go to the parent or guardian to let them know what's going on with their child.
Sure.
Or their ward.
Sure.
That's just my opinion on that. And
Yeah.
I'd like to kind of see something like that.
So,
Does anyone else have thoughts?
just
Adam, go
as a
ahead.
follow-up, under responsibility of school employees after the search on page 2 there, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I feel like parent contact should be a required element. If the search, you have reasonable suspicion to search a student, nothing comes of it, there's no discipline or anything, kid goes back to class, I think the parent should be informed as a general practice.
Yeah, I would say that's a best practice.
Regardless, so I don't know if that necessarily, I've seen it in policies in other districts before, whether that's practice, policy, putting it out there.
Go with Jack. Go ahead, Jack.
I would say that if we're going down that rabbit hole, a minor can't consent to anything. Period. It's gotta be the parent.
Assistant Superintendent Wendy?
So I would just mention, when I was the principal over at Mountain View, anytime that we had to do a search, whether it was a backpack, a locker, anything, we always called the parents, regardless if we found something or not. That contact was made. So that was part of our building practice anyways. I know this has been a conversation, but regardless if we found something or not, we always contacted the parent
After the search.
after the search.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, that's, I think, where my concern is. If they're a minor, I think we should be contacting them prior to the search unless there's an imminent danger associated with it. That would need to get taken care of right away. That might be just my opinion on this, though.
Yeah. So devil's advocate, right?
Well, that's kind of following the current standing law that we have with police and DUI or walking down the street.
Yeah.
You can refuse things. I just like to have the parents in the loop, especially if it's a minor, and that way we're protected as well.
So to that end, if we added on JIHR1 on page 2, under responsibilities of school employees after a search, if I added D, contact parents or guardians,
I think that makes sense.
does that cover it?
Not at, before.
For me, I'd say before. It has to be before you actually do a search. I mean, if you're quote-unquote detaining a student so that they can't move, so that you can contact the parent or bring them into the office, get authorization to do a search, I think that's appropriate, unless if there's some
Do they have an expectation
circumstances.
of privacy in this sense?
Backpacks closed?
So,
Is it a school
No,
though?
I'm sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
Could I just mention, just again, having done this for a number of years, when we're doing a search, it's because we think that there is something imminent. We're looking at drugs, we're looking at alcohol, we're looking at weapons. So in some cases, taking a moment to call a parent, and I'm not saying I don't want parents informed, I absolutely do. I also don't want to have everybody else wait, because if word gets around that a student has told an administrator that they said somebody had something on the bus, as an example, that time is incredibly precious to be able to get to that student, to be able to do that search. So I would just worry if we can't get to a parent right away, that is important time that's ticking through. We don't just do searches for like a phone. That's not what we're doing a search for. It's drugs, alcohol, and weapons, more than likely.
I agree.
Shane, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wouldn't want to tie the hands of our administrators because like what Wendy said, I know if something comes up, a vape, weapon, etc., you're not even waiting for the kid to come down. You're going to get the kid with their belongings and stuff. You know what I mean? So if someone's taking that time to call the parent first, that kid can dump it, get rid of it, give it to the next kid. So it does create an issue as far as kind of the immediacy of the issue.
You can't reach the
Yeah.
parent.
Well,
Go ahead, Jack.
not searching them, like bringing them down with their stuff to the office would not be searching them, right? You could claim it was detaining them, but you sort of have that ability as an administrator.
Sort of.
Right, so then you're contacting just for the consent of the search. But hopefully, drugs and alcohol, I would, as much as I don't want to see them, right, they're not an imminent threat unless the person's ingesting them right in front of you, which obviously then you wouldn't have to search them. And then if it was a weapon, they would be in front of you, where hopefully you could put an end to that while you were trying to contact the parent. And I will say it was one of the funniest phone calls I ever got from Todd the Valley when they called me about having to search my daughter. And I saved that message to this day because it gives me a chuckle.
Dan?
Just a point about the imminent part. You're asking the administrators to make a subjective decision as to what's an imminent threat in the moment. And I feel like that's putting more onus on them than necessary, because if they can search and then reach out to the parents. So 100 years ago, I used to work for Marshalls, and I would catch teenagers stealing things, and I'd have to sit them down and call their parents and wait for them to come get them. But there were occasionally 2-3 hours where the parents wouldn't answer the phone, they didn't know the police. So I think we're much better off just dealing with the situation in the moment, and then obviously requiring reaching out to the parents right after, whether or not they found something, right? But if you say to the administrators, hey, it has to be an imminent threat, you're going to hear something, I'm going to hear something different, and you're going to hear a third thing, right? So as to what's imminent from a threat perspective, because to Jack's point about did they just ingest drugs, well, maybe that kid swallowed them, right, to not get caught, but he took too many. Now that's going to be a problem, but they're not imminently going to hurt somebody else, and it just turns into too much of a vague place.
I know there's several different scenarios on things that we could think of. I just look at the golden rule of reasonable articulable suspicion warrants a detainment, not necessarily beyond a cursory search of an individual. The school is a member of the state. That is the state's policy that they have with the police. I just get concerned with situations like this. That's my concern. I agree that we should be contacting the parents, and B, if you want to move that as afterwards. But when we put this policy into action, I hope that an administrator doesn't say, you're going to let me search you, or you're going to get a 10-day suspension. If that happens, that's a problem, in my opinion, because that is coercive.
Yeah, and that is not at all what has or would happen. What if we added, so on the bottom of page 1, if I added conducting the search, if I add E.
The regulation?
On the reg, yep. On the reg, at the bottom of page 1, if I added E, school administration will make every effort to contact a parent prior to a search if possible. And then on the next page, responsibilities of school employees after a search, adding D, and saying school administration will contact a parent or guardian after a search has been conducted.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Knowing that I won't make a motion for that change, who would like to make that motion? Jack?
I'll make a motion that we make that change as presented.
Thank you, Jack. Any second?
Second.
Second by Adam. All those in favor of the change, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are unanimous. Any other questions, statements about the 3 policies that we've reviewed? Well, those will be coming back at our next meeting for approval. With that, we will move on to new business. New business A, first read policies. No board action is taken, but the chair recognizes Shane to review these policies.
Thank you so much. So we have KE, which is relative to the public complaints and public complaints about school personnel. We have BEDG, which is relative to meeting minutes. And then we have EH and EHR, which is access to school district records, which is a little bit of a lengthy one. So again, with these three, you guys just need to kind of review them. If you have questions, comments, anything you think needs to be parsed out a little bit, bring that back at our next full meeting. And then beneath that, starting with AE, those are the optional policies that you have in front of me. So again, I would urge you all to just look through them. If there's anything that you think is crucially vital that we need to keep in policy, please bring that to our attention at the next meeting. Although, like I said, there's a lot of them that are rooted in RSAs, so that kind of helps those ones out, but there are some that aren't. So if some of those look like anyone thinks they should be kept in our policy manual, then let us know and we can talk about it.
Go ahead, Retta.
Yeah, just a quick question. So, are the ones that you're recommending to be removed, are they noted on the actual policy?
Yeah, did you get this stack here? It says optional policies with RSAs addressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a pretty big stack. So, so those are just, take a peek, and if you have questions about anything or think something's crucial that we keep, let us know and we'll have a chat.
Any further questions for Shane on these policies?
Is KE a brand new policy?
No.
No.
Okay, it doesn't have anything struck out like the other policy, that's fine.
KE, was
KE
the
and
consolidated one?
KEB
Yeah,
were
so
combined.
it was combined.
So
Okay.
KE has existed for a long time. We took two policies and essentially combined them together. So it looks like it's a new policy, but it's not.
Right.
Any further questions for Shane? If not, we will move on to staffing.
Okay, on the staffing sheet, notification only is for a leave of absence. For your approval this evening, the same leave of absence you'll see is up above. For the remainder of the year, we're looking for your approval from May 18th through the end of the year for that first individual, and I'll do these in batches.
I'll make a motion to approve the leave of absence for the, or I guess I'll just say the leave of absence as presented.
Motion by Shane, second by Ginny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous.
So next up, we have a resignation from our special education facilitator at Maple Ave, Bridget Perry. So we'd like to wish Bridget well, and that's for your approval, the resignation.
If we like her enough, can we decline?
I'll make a motion to approve the resignation as presented.
By Vanessa,
Second.
second by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Pass unanimously.
So we have two resignations for teachers that'll be moving on, so we wish them well and thank them for their service.
I'll make a motion to approve the teacher resignations as presented.
Motion by Vanessa, second by Ginny. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous again.
So these next batch of nominations, one is for the teacher to replace Mr. DeRocher, who moved into the curriculum coordinator role. So we'd like to welcome those two teachers. And actually, Caitlin has been with us at Glen Lake, but she's moving into full-time.
I'll make a motion to approve those nominations as presented.
Motion by Vanessa,
Second.
second by Adam. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous.
And the last batch, please don't make me read all these names, is the big batch of spring sports. And I would just point out, because we have a couple of new board members, you'll notice when the names appear on the left, if there's a little lowercase n in parentheses, that's indicating that that is a new person or a new role for that person. So that just shows you that on this first list, there are only 3 N's. So these are all returning coaches for us. And same story on the back. There's, I think, one person who's a new person.
Chair recognizes Ginny.
Brian, do we have all spring sports covered?
I believe so. Have we heard any that are vacant at this point?
They just filled the baseball at Mountain View, and I think that was the last one, so I think we're all set.
I think we're good, Ginny.
And we have A and B? I don't see A and B on
We,
here.
we don't for softball and baseball because we only have one field with no lights. So we've never had an A and a B team for baseball or softball. There's only ever been one team at the middle school.
Any further questions? I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve all sports nominations as presented.
By Vanessa, seconded by Laura. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're unanimous. Yes.
Can I make sure that
Yes.
teacher rep and student
The teacher rep and I are eyeballing each other, and they are voting along with the board. And so when I'm saying it's unanimous, they are in the approval.
Okay.
Unless they really want to be called out separately. Good. Thank you, Ms. Warren. Okay, moving on to, we did the notifications, approvals, other superintendent request to waive a policy. That will be a non-public.
That will be a non-public discussion, so I will be requesting the board to waive policy IMAB, but we'll talk about that a little more in non-public.
So with that, let's move on to the top three things, which Chair recognizes Retta.
Yeah, wow. So I have the new board members and the new chair and vice chair as separate items, but they all happened about the same, the same time, so I was just gonna put that at one, which leaves me too shy of three things. So does anyone have any recommendations?
Maybe talking about that, we're going to be reviewing the student family handbook at our next meeting. That might be a good one for people to just say that we're going to be tuning into that meeting, maybe.
I agree with that. It's pretty.
There's not a lot of discussion though on the video clip. It's gonna be
I
like
know.
1 minute.
It's going to be a great minute.
But at least it'll put it on parents' radars that they're,
Yeah.
Okay.
they'll be discussed.
And maybe that same thing for the new schedule?
Do we want to?
Or is that too early because it's not up
Are we
yet?
going to be presenting the Mountain View scheduling before the next meeting?
At the next meeting.
It's, okay, so we
Yeah,
should
I
wait
would
till
honestly,
then.
I would wait until they do the
Okay.
presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Shane.
It wouldn't be our most hearty third thing, but do we want to talk about spring sports are starting up? And we have a number of volunteer coaches and returning coaches that we're glad to have.
Tryouts.
Yeah, I mean.
I think
do
that's
them
always a
tryouts,
good
yeah.
thing is for a while.
And it just occurred to me, I may have had a third thing, but I think that's good. So the other one was thanking the public for supporting the
Oh.
schools.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good
Go
one.
with that.
Yeah, do that. They can read about the sports on the board outside the high school.
So essentially, our three things all happened like within the first 15 minutes.
Glad you get more watch.
Yeah, exactly. Bang for your buck.
Any other business to come before the board that was not on the agenda from any board members? With that, we will be going into non-public. We're only going to be going under C.
Under
So
C.
we'll be going under RSA 91-A3II-C.
So moved.
By Shane,
Second.
second by Vanessa. We will start over with Laura.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
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 We are now in non-public.